Hello everybody and welcome. I hope that you can find us. We will wait a little bit so that you can catch up with us. Steve here, who's a total lifesaver, is going to actually be putting in a comment that you should be finding us here. Something happened with Google Hangouts and YouTube and yeah. Sounds like I need an intern, doesn't it? Anyway, everybody, welcome to this, the 7th film scoring webinar of me, Deniz Hughes, and we've got here a nice group of people. There's Steve Wilder Blumenthal.
Hey everybody,
Woo.
How are you all doing today?
He's in Los Angeles, and we've also got today Michael Patrick Worth, who is a composer out of Philadelphia. Yay!
Philadelphia.
I got a cheese.
That's true. The both of you are from Philadelphia. Oh.
Oh yeah.
When I go to LA, Steve and I are going to catch up. I'm going to bring him up to date on all the cool things happening back here on the East Coast.
I need to know.
No. We've got the Masked Intern.
Dun, dun,
Say
dun.
anything? Hello? He has to make
The
more
disguised
noise
one.
than that so we can see him. You must make more noise, Mr. Masked.
Okay. Am I heard?
Absolutely.
Right there?
You've been
There
heard.
we are. Woof.
Oh no! So is it all working so far, Steve? Are people watching?
I just checked. The YouTube video's all working. You were like,
Are there human beings watching it, or are we?
Well, I didn't check that. They could just be it.
So far, yeah, we have some folks coming in now. Here we go. So Vlad found us.
Thank you so much. Thank you. It's so great to see everybody. So, and thank you, gentlemen here, for supporting me in this. I mean, that was a half an hour of a panic, really. Anyway, thank you, gentlemen. Thank you all for being here. Thank you for your support. Nothing makes me happier than helping you, the film composer. You are welcome to subscribe to this YouTube channel, although I'd like to poke someone's eye out right about now on YouTube. And you're welcome to like this video. You are also welcome to like my Facebook fan page, which is a terrible thing. I know. I'm going to delete it, and we're going to have a party about that. And I have, 6 other webinars, and they are all on my website, which is Deniz Hughes, as my name right down there, denizhughes.com, and it's the media page. And as I always like to say, this, along with the Facebook group, which is also called For Film Composers Only, very informative, a lot of fun, very active. Along with the Facebook group and these webinars, yes, it's helpful and it really means a lot to me that people are getting a lot out of them, but it's not enough. You're much better off doing a one-on-one sort of a thing, so reach out to me if you're interested, if you'd like to know more. The way that these webinars work is that I talk and then we have conversations, and if you have any questions, please just write them in the comments down below. And Steve in Los Angeles over there is doing the biz. He will be taking notes as to what your questions are, and we will have a question and answer period later.
Yes.
We kindly ask that you try to limit your questions to the topic, and today's topic is all about interning. And so if you have any questions or comments, please write them and we will have a discussion, and if there's time later, then sure, we can then talk about other things. There will be more webinars coming up. The next one is going to be about how not to work for free, how to try to make it so that a free gig, how to turn a free gig into a money gig. And then a lot of people have been talking about, well, if you finally move to Los Angeles, how do you find work? So they might be the same, I don't know, but we're going to have these talks in the future. And if you have any other ideas, please write to me, let me know. It would be great to help you out in any way that I can. How's everybody over there so far?
Doing well.
Thumbs up, rocking and rolling.
How's the Masked Intern?
I am doing quite well. The Masked Intern's girlfriend just walked in.
Oh, well, that's good. If he has a girlfriend, yay!
I'm a lucky guy.
Well, we're lucky. We feel lucky to have you too. So, yeah, yay! Thank you so much. Thank you. And he's a brave soul, that man. So there's going to be first. I'm going to go through an overview, and then there's going, an overview of the talk and the situation, the whole thing, and then we're going to have the bulk of our talk and then the questions. All right. So, yes. How's it going? Are people doing good there, Steve? Have they found the way?
Doing well. We're having some folks starting to they're starting to come into this video. There's still people trying to watch the old video, but I've been posting to say come to this one, so they'll be here soon.
Yes, if they keep on watching that older video, they're going to just see black.
Black.
Blackness.
Come to the light. Come to the working video.
Anyway, I'm going to turn off this lovely, hey, there we are. Okay, so you get a little bit more of me there. Okay, so first I'm
Here we
going to
go. Yeah.
talk about, here's the overview of the talk. So this is the overview of the overview. I'm going to talk about the rules of this particular webinar because it is a touchy, what I like to call prickly subject. And then we're going to talk about what should make you say yes to a possible internship, and then what should make you say no, and then a whole bunch of other thoughts. So that's the way it's going. So first and foremost, let's talk about the rules. I know this could potentially be an incredibly juicy hour or so, but we won't be naming names today. I think it's very important to be reflective of the way that it needs to be out in Hollywood. And in Hollywood, things need to be completely diplomatic, even-handed, always looking forward and not really looking back. So no naming names. If you wanted to get some gossip about some people, it ain't happening here. But I will say that what I'm going to share here is not necessarily the opinion of everyone here. People have different ideas about internship, and I think having a discussion about it, an open one, is certainly better than just having things kind of happen the way they happening. So, yeah, here we go. As I was mentioning to the fellows beforehand, this could be a complain-o-rama, because there are a lot of horror stories out there. It's not because, well, people just have it. We all have it in ourselves to have the ability to be incredibly mean to each other. So, but we're going to go the Hollywood route here and be as positive as we can possibly be, and hopefully do something constructive as a result. This is all about empowering you. Everything that I do, all these webinars, all my teaching, everything is about empowering you, the film composer. You actually have a lot more power than you think you do, and I feel like it's part of my job to be telling you that. So the first thing I want to say is, why are we accepting things as they are? Sure, it's intimidating. You want to break into the business. You might find yourself in Los Angeles, and everybody's doing what they're doing, and you really, really, really want to do this so badly. And of course, it doesn't feel like it would be appropriate for you to negotiate the terms of how you're going to start out. So, right. I'm just reading my notes here. I was going to say, I can understand why people go for internships, but you can find yourself in Los Angeles and not really know what to do, and you might feel lost. But please don't make the mistake of thinking that you have to work your way up. Los Angeles is not about that. Hollywood is not about that. Really, the way that you succeed, the fastest way that you could possibly succeed, is to make really good, close, fast friends with a very talented, up-and-coming director.
In a very authentic way, too.
in a very authentic way, right? Not by going, now I'm going to do this, and I'm going to do that. No, just a very authentic way. Be you, have fun doing it, but that's your wild card. And all of this other stuff about, oh, you first have to learn this, and then you got to do this, and then you got to do that, and then it's a lie. It doesn't. I mean, there are constructs out there that allow you to do this sort of thing, but nothing beats being friendly with a director who is going to shoot to the top. And that, if you put all of your effort into that, you will be so far ahead that it's not even funny. Yeah. So, any questions or comments before I dive in, gentlemen? Yes?
Let's have a look.
What about you, Michael?
Question or comments? No. I'll do a comment to support that point you just mentioned, which is one of my favorite stories. Remember, there was this show called Falling Skies. It had Noah Wyle in it. It was a kind of alien invasion. That was the composer's first big gig, and his parents were friends with Steven Spielberg. And Steven came over for dinner, and he shoot the breeze, and he played the violin. Steven was like, "You've got great talent, great chops." And then when he executive produced, guess who's at the head of the line? So
you just don't know. My very first jingle got shown on the Super Bowl. So, there's no, it's like totally crazy. But there's no hard rule to this. And if anybody tells you that there is a hard rule to it, at least prick up your ears and go, What do you think, Mr. Masked Intern?
Yeah. Everything seems to make sense so far.
And that should tell you something.
Ever the diplomat.
Look at the state of this poor guy. Part of the reason why he's disguising himself is that if you say something bad about anybody, you get marked. It's not good. So that's partly why we're trying to be as diplomatic as possible. And the other thing is that it really doesn't help you to be naming names, talking about, well, this happened and that happened and this. It doesn't help you. What helps for, hopefully, what I'm about to tell you. Let's hope. So, yes, Steve, so you have some questions or anything before I move on? Or
I'm okay in mine as far as questions so far. What I was just going to say is...
they're coming in, they're like...
We have some folks trickling in, yeah. I think a lot of folks have the other video on in another tab, so I'm posting the link in the comments. Hey, listen,
Thank you so
much. This is the video. Of course,
Thank you so much, Eventually everybody will get to see this particular video, but I don't know what happened. Anyway, these things happen.
It's been dodgy every so often. I've run into problems with this before of, like, files getting corrupted. It's a very complex ecosystem, so we just happened to run into one of their snafu.
Finally, right, the 7th time. Boom, right between...
What matters is we got through it and we're doing it.
Yeah, exactly.
Thanks to you, Steve. Really, thanks to you. And let's just say that, the technology of this is so amazing. I mean, what's happening with Google Plus Hangouts is amazing. The fact that they can link it to YouTube, the fact that it is free, the fact that you can watch it without signing in or paying money, this is incredibly wonderful. So this is,
Mm-hmm.
All right, so the first section, or the first thing that I want to talk about is what should make you say yes to an internship. And I spoke to a few people, not too many, but I spoke to a few people, and one person had mentioned that they had the chance to intern at 20th Century Fox. And it was for, I believe it was for about 4 weeks, and they said that it was the most awesome experience ever. And yes, they worked for free, but they got to see all the studios and the sessions, and they got to attend things, and they got to meet people. So I would say that if you've got some kind of an internship through some kind of a big organization, or a production company, or I know I used to teach at NYU, and NYU has this program that's part of their last semester with certain majors, and that you get into an internship for credit. And so if it's a circumstance where it's through some kind of a company, and also the other thing is if there is a set time limit, that's another thing. So if you know you're going to be there for 3 weeks or 1 week or 2 weeks or 4 weeks or whatever it is, or maybe a whole semester, I really would not suggest that you go into an internship that will last you longer than 3 months or a semester long. It just doesn't seem to make sense. So otherwise, I would say forget it. Would you agree, Masked Intern?
Well, by and large, the internships that I've done were about that length or less. One I did was actually was about 6 months.
Wow.
But, there was a stipend, and everybody that worked at the company, or works at the company, I should say, sort of went through that path, so they sort of know what's up, and they kind of have that mentality and treat their interns very reasonably. And you get to see all kinds of cool things.
So you didn't feel like you were pushed off to the side, and yeah, I will be talking about some of the other things as well. I hope I will be talking about. I'm looking at my list and wondering if I still have this list. All of a sudden it occurred to me. I don't know. But yes, I was thinking if you are meeting people on a daily basis, that is probably more important than learning the ins and outs of the recording process, because it's the networking, it's who you get to meet, who you get to know. Those things become very important. So that is very important. If you feel like you're learning things, then you might consider hanging on and staying on. So that's what I think. I don't know.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well, I think just to support what you're saying is the internship. I think ideally is kind of like that transitional point from finishing your studies to working. So it should have an aspect of learning and an aspect of getting paid, or an aspect of value, and then it should be, like you said, codified in duration. 3 months. I mean, you could go and intern with like someone like Chris Leonard out in LA, who's a great guy.
Names, mister.
I'm sorry. A typical great guy. Well, he's a wonderful person, so it's positive things. But a very positive TV composer, and you could see the pipeline, and there might be aspects of the job that you never knew existed, and that has value because you could, leverage that into work.
There's always value, but is that going to help you to break in? This is the thing. The problem with interning is that it shows it. This is my opinion. And I know that I'm outspoken and I have wild ideas, which is why we have these webinars. And everybody, you can disagree with me, but I feel like an internship is, in essence, is it not, an assistantship? And when you're assisting a composer, you're learning how to follow them. So it's not, like you're saying, Michael, it's not much of a stretch, really. It is a transition thing from school, where you're following what other people are telling you to do, right? Write this paper, do this assignment, show up for this event, that concert, whatever. And then, you're going into internship where you're watching people be leaders, but you are basically, I'm sorry to say, a lamb.
Right.
Where you're just doing what other people tell you to do, and the whole time you're not really learning how to be a leader.
Right,
So,
and that thing is you got to plant those seeds, like you were saying, find those initial networks, while you're in that environment, And you know what? Find the people who are where you're at. Find the production assistant, or the second unit director who's a 26-year-old who's, you're working, and you find those young people, and you become friends with them. And a lot of my friends started working.
I have something to say too about this as well. With interning, I think a lot of the time that the title of intern, I think, can be very nebulous at times. If that makes sense, it can really mean a lot of different things. In my experience of interning, which I've interned at various studios and places all over the country, some have been very hands-on, where, hey, can you do this? Can you write for us? Hey, can you edit this for us? And others are, get us lunch, and you can hang out with us. It's very, but I've met. I think
lunch. I don't know.
I've had. I had one internship. My sole responsibility was to make sure that lunch was on the table, and that was the most important part. That was it.
But did you get to watch other things happen at the same time?
Kind of. I did, because I befriended people who were there. I'm not naming names at all at any place, but of course not. But what I'm saying is, an internship, a lot of it, it's like anything in life, it's what you make of it. And
True.
if you're at an internship, that's kind of like, okay, you're not getting a lot of hands-on stuff at all. You don't get to do anything cool. Find ways to make those opportunities. Find ways to befriend people there to get on a more trust level of them, because the reason why you're not getting that hands-on experience is because they don't trust you yet. Once you can build that trust with them somehow, then the story can change, because all of a sudden I went from like having to get lunch every day to, hey, Steve, can you help us, build this entire studio from the ground up? Okay,
Right.
so you really gotta. It's a lot. It's on you. I mean, you
See,
should go.
that, I mean, okay, I know a little bit about you, and I know the circumstance that what you're talking about, but even that isn't really helpful. I mean, it's really important to be able to ascertain, to discern what, okay, I'm learning things, but is this really important for me to break through? And you can't depend on the system as it presents
Exactly.
itself to you. You really have to think beyond that.
You gotta forge your own path.
You got to be your own hero. You really do. Otherwise,
Exactly.
if you can't make those judgments, you're going to find yourself all the way on some kind of tangent, all the way a branch.
I think.
I kind of had a thing with that. I'm sorry. Go ahead, please.
No, you close your thought up, please.
Okay. What I was saying was that whenever, now I'm not in a place where I'm really interning anymore, but when I was interning, I always thought in my head, okay, I have a dream right now, and this internship is like close to the dream, but it's not quite the dream. So I really got to make sure I'm holding on tight to that and staying true to what I actually want to do, and not letting myself get distracted by this, but instead trying to just learn from where I am right now and pick up what I can from my experience there so I can apply it to my dream, not putting my dream aside and being as big of a service as possible to wherever I'm interning at. So you got to be careful to do that as well.
You have to have that kind of thought process. And let me tell you, there are a lot of people who are so sweet and so kind, and their hearts are so pure that they don't even think like that. I'm sorry. That came out bad, but I mean, it's true. They don't even think on their own. Yeah, go for it, Michael. Tell me.
Oh, no, I'm with you on that. So, like anything, and this was going to tie into what I was going to say right before I wanted Steve to be able to finish his thought.
Yes.
We have just as much power. We're on the YouTube channel. All have the ability to choose if we want to engage in this internship relationship, because it is a relationship. And this ties into Deniz, what you were saying, which is we have just as much of a right to say, I don't like the way this individual conducts him or herself. I don't like the way this individual vibes with me. I'm not going to take this just because him or her is in LA. And that comes down to do research. It's easy to go into various trade magazines and get lists of TV and film composers and just look at who's a cool person or a cool gentleman or woman.
Yeah, but you don't know. There are a lot of people out there who have really good reputations, and behind the scenes it ain't so great.
That's true. I mean, there's always.
Yeah, and actually, I have an idea as to how to make sure.
You have a plan. You have a plan.
I have a plan. Yeah. So, all right. So we talked about what would keep you on board, and then I want to talk about when to walk. When do you leave? And here's the thing: you can leave on a dime. You can leave anytime that you want because you're working for free, and
yeah, you're not being paid. Come on.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't recommend that you. Once they cross you, that you go, that's it, blow up, and then you just drop.
Yeah, don't start a war.
You don't want to be burning bridges ever, ever, ever. But yeah, you can leave. You don't let them say, oh, finish this project through or anything. They don't owe you anything. You don't owe them anything. That's what I'm trying to say. So I have this list, and I'm going to just go through it. Are you ready? Are you ready? Yes. The Masked Intern. Are you ready?
I am. I have something to add to that when you're done.
Please, tell me now. Tell us now. You're more important than I am. Forget me. Go.
What was it? Of course, the second I mention it, it's not there.
Okay. Well, just go woof when it comes.
Just bark for us.
Oh, yeah, here it is. A couple that I did were at somewhere very well known, and I found myself just doing a lot of very remedial things, and of course all these remedial things take on unnecessary significance, if you know what I mean. Suddenly a cup of coffee might as well be a cup of liquid gold. and you have to handle the liquid gold with the utmost care. And there's just all this crazy pressure. It's not the pressure that's the problem; it's the task.
Yes.
A couple of internships at this place, and I sort of arrived at what you were talking about. It's like you want to find a way to get out, and the way I did that is just by getting through it, putting my nose down, and then just kind of saying, "Thanks, guys, see ya."
That's it. I mean, however you can get out, It doesn't sound like a nice environment, to say the least, and I appreciate you, sharing. Yeah.
I am really glad I did it, though.
Yeah. Well, but that's because of you. If you're glad you did it, that's because of you and your kindness and your goodness, and not really because the situation lent itself to feeling appreciative about it.
Absolutely. The thing is that it taught me to really hustle in the LA way, and what I mean by that is you're always looking for something to do, even if it's seemingly minor. This is what they're looking for.
Honestly, I think that the only thing in your situation like that, the only thing that a film composer who wants to break in should do is network and meet people.
Oh, yeah.
That's it.
Yeah.
And everything else can just, go.
I have something to add to that as well.
Yeah.
To go off of what our Masked Intern was telling us, I also think it's important when you're in conversations at any kind of internship at all, the internship should never be the most important thing you're doing. You always need to be doing something else as well. You have a project you're working on, you're doing a score.
Yeah.
Even if it's not for a client, do it for yourself. Everyone has times where there's not a lot of work, and when I don't have time when I'm working on something, I'm producing like an indie album. I'm just trying to stretch my musical horizons and do that. Always have something to talk about, though. Always have a thing. Don't make the internship be the biggest thing you're doing at the moment.
That's a great piece of advice, Steve.
Always have something going.
Really amazing, and that's really amazing.
For so many reasons. If anything, just for conversation with fellow interns, and then also with other people, seeing you as, okay, you're not just a person who waits for the work to come to them. You make things happen on your own, and that really speaks volumes to it. And I've been inspired by many people who are like that when they have no, work coming from clients who are saying, okay, screw it, I'll make my own thing. Like it's incredibly inspiring.
Yeah.
So I highly recommend that, especially when interning. It's a good way to keep your soul healthy as well.
But okay, so let's get into, speaking of being healthy, let's get into when should you walk. And surprise, surprise, there are way more reasons to leave an internship than there are to take one on. And the first one is, if you have any abuse, any feeling of abuse, any sense of something making you feel bad, you have to walk. You have to leave. If you want, you can give them the benefit of the doubt once, but I guarantee you it'll come again and again and again. And there's no excuse for it, really. If you're doing it for longer than 3 months, you need to leave. If they stretch their promises, like let's say, you only have to work 8 hours every day, and then they're telling you, oh, well, sorry, just for today. If they stretch their promises, walk. I'm very rough with this, but I think that there's something to it. If they break a promise, if they promise you that you will be at a recording session and then you wind up, instead of everybody goes to the recording session, but you're, keeping the studio, you're having to clean the studio or whatever while everybody's at the session, that's breaking a promise. Walk. If you're not learning anything new, walk.
Yeah.
If you're not meeting anybody new, walk. If you find, this is along the lines of what Steve was saying, if you find that you don't have enough time to pursue your career, like if you're exhausted, even if you're doing only 40 hours, not only 40 hours a week, that's full time, but if you don't have enough time or effort, energy to pursue your career, then you probably should walk. If they ask you to compose something for free, walk. If they ask you even to orchestrate for free, walk. because they're making money off of your back.
Right. May I ask a subtitle of that? If they ask you to ghostwrite, where they retain the writer's royalties, do you walk? I would, personally.
Yes, absolutely.
Same thing, right? Which is, write this for me, but it's going to have my name on it. That's
I mean, we'd love to make it so that, the world, that soon you'll say, you can't, that's my hope and dream. I mean, it might be a pipe dream, but that you can say to somebody, you can't do that.
Yeah. Well, I've said it to people. I've said it to my last assistantship. Oh, I said it to them because he tried to do that. I said, you can't do that. I said, it's ridiculous.
I say that with a laugh, just like, Steven's like, are you kidding me? Oh,
yeah, I was like, but going with that, there's a couple things, which is I had, like Steve said, created such value in that relationship that I had a lot of cards in my hand. I'm like, you got to treat me right. I know how to. I programmed your Mac for you. I know how to MIDI orchestrate. You come to me with MIDI orchestration now because you don't know how to do it. I know how to do this, this, and this. This is a two-way street, which is another thing. Internship. It should be transitional, so you should have something that
something also to be said about trying. If if it's requiring a lot of effort for you to extract what is your natural due, then maybe those aren't people who you should be.
Yeah, exactly. Conversely, a good mentor to your internship will find ways to value you. Like the first internship I had in New York was with a really great guy who I won't name names, but he was a lead musician on one of the Tonight Show / Late Show bands. So that's his world, either Fallon or Conan or Jay Leno. There you go. And he was constantly getting
He just can't resist.
Still one of 30 guys, and he treated me so right in terms of he knew he couldn't pay me that much, but he was getting swag from all of the, use these headphones and, because he wrote for Keyboard Magazine, so he just gave me free stuff, legitimate free stuff. He's like, I have 3 pairs of these AKG headphones. These are yours. $150 pair of headphones. Like, those little gestures made me feel, yeah, he appreciates what I'm doing, and he might not have a lot of money for me, but he was, so I stocked like a good third of my studio with like free swag.
Well, I've got ideas about that too. We're coming through them.
Hey, I'm happy with it. I got away with a couple of
Yeah, man, you got a pretty good deal out of that.
I mean, for a 24-year-old or whatever. But I think, Denise, just what you're saying is to have that person have a two-way mutual respect and respect what you're doing. Even
it's more than that. I'm gonna talk about it. Because the problem always with film composing is that we're talking about a world where it's very friendly. You have to be friendly because the creative arts are involved, and in order to create well, you must feel safe. And in order to feel safe, you must feel like there's a sense of real camaraderie. But where that line is drawn should not be at a younger, more inexperienced person's disadvantage. When someone has a gig that's paying them well, if they're lucky enough to do that, they are so lucky. Hello. They are so lucky, and the thing is that they're not really going to tell you how lucky they are. I mean, they might say, "Oh, I'm so grateful, I'm so thankful," but you have no idea how much money they're making.
Oh yeah. Yes, there's some.
What I'm saying? So for us to be grateful that you got your headphones, I mean, it's like, how about some rent? Oh, I'm very outspoken. Oh,
no, but it's fair. But he also paid me.
I should put on a Google Mask too. Let's see if I can. I need to do something.
No, it's.
Like they were saying, yeah.
Yeah, but no, it's a good point. And to be fair, this guy also did pay me, but he basically was like, "I know I'm not being able to pay you really what you." Oh, now it's being done.
Yeah.
They're on.
No, we're syncing now. We're just syncing. Let's see if I can just delete this. No, I can't delete it. Oh no.
Yes, you can. Go to clear.
On the glasses again to go away.
What's Thomas's question?
Okay. Well, we were saying, you were saying that he can't really pay you, but he found ways to. I mean, he paid you some, but he found ways to also kind of bridge that gap of.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, he tried, and that's okay. But here's the thing about this, and this is my shtick here, okay? And that is that I really believe that, look, minimum wage in California, the state of California, is $9 an hour.
Yeah.
And any intern should not be working more than 40 hours a week. Anyway, if someone needs you for longer than 40 hours a week, they should get another intern. All right? And if you are working 40 hours a week, that's 8 hours a day, 5 days a week. I mean, if you can't afford, as a composer, $75 before taxes, so you're getting the tax write-off on top of it, right? If you can't afford that, what kind of person are you then as an intern working for?
I agree.
They're not, either they don't know better, that's what we're hoping and praying for. That these people who are offering an internship where they're not going to pay you anything, even minimum wage, they don't know any better. But then if they can't afford the $75 a day, you know, how successful are they? You know, if you're going to be interning, you better be interning for people who can do really, really well, right?
Yes.
And if they can't afford it and they won't pay you, then what kind of person are you going to be working for? Someone who has, I mean, it's not, it doesn't spell anything decent for you.
Yeah.
Now, I've also heard, you know, people say, well, I'm offering an education, you know, I'm teaching them. So they're standing by my side and they're helping me, but I'm teaching them. And I say to that, well, you know, then get paid what you normally would charge to be a teacher, and then pay them to be the intern. Because when you start bartering in this weird way where they're working for free, it's just no good. It spells trouble. I have heard so many stories, and we all have. And if you're new to this, let's just say that so far this conversation has been very, very sweet in comparison to, you know, the stories that I've certainly heard. And human beings should not be treating each other that way. And let me tell you, film composers should not be treating film composers that way.
Of course not.
I mean, especially,
what I was going to say is
forget it. No way.
The thought process generally behind an unpaid internship for a lot of people, because I've spoken to a lot of people about this just out of curiosity, because I know some people who do the unpaid intern thing and just asking, why? What's your thought? You know, and most of them have usually said it's kind of seen as a trial period, which I mean, from a business standpoint, I can understand where they're coming from. I can kind of see that, where they're not sure if they trust the person. It was a short interview. They don't really know the person that well. And I get that. And if the person turns out to be a total, you know, it just doesn't work out, then they lost no money on paper. That's what they're saying. You know, from a business point, that's what they're saying.
In the tech
I'm not
world,
defending it, but yeah, that's what I'm saying.
If you're an intern, you get paid $80,000-$90,000 a year.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
As an intern. And what I'm saying,
I'm not defending that point of thought. I'm just saying that's where they're coming from. Yeah.
But what I'm saying is that, you know, this is about you. I'm talking about the employer here. Yeah. You know, this is about the employer showing their good faith. I'm going to give you, because I think actually the Masked Intern there had said that he got a stipend. Is that correct? Yes?
That's correct. Well, one of the internships that I did have a weekly stipend. It wasn't that much, but it was enough to cover the fuel plus more or less the groceries that you would be buying for yourself.
So I guess that is minimum wage, or it must be less than minimum, because minimum wage, I did the math, it's $360 a week before taxes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's not very much. No, not 360. No. Wait. Oh God, what's the?
Oh, I'm terrible at math. Don't make me do this.
I'm a musician. I count to 4.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, like anything beyond that, like yeah. I just count to 2 twice. That's what I usually do.
Yeah. Up, down, up, down.
No, it's $360 a week. It is. It's 300. If you're working 40 hours, it's $360 a week. And look, we've all done jobs that were under wage. You know, because composers are just, most of us are pretty horrible at negotiating things. So, and
I think that the payment, the stipend, it kind of works. I mean, I have a lot of friends who went to grad school, and it's very similar to grad school, where you're going there and they're giving you a stipend because it takes so much of your time. They're saying, here, we'll cover, we'll give you this much money per semester to cover your own life outside of school. They acknowledge the fact that you don't just do that; you do other things as well.
Right.
Now, some schools offer more than others, but I think it's a better way to do an internship. It's not giving this person a ton of money every year, but you're giving them, hey, here's so you can live here and stay with us, especially if you're not from here, you know?
It's certainly a wonderful gesture. I'm just thinking, why do people who are already so successful thinking that they can get somebody to work for free? And
It saves money, but
is it just money, or is it that they literally don't know any better? I mean, morally?
Well, is it also, I mean, this is just a thought, is it that the interns coming in might not have the skill set or the comfort to kind of have a dialogue with their future employer and say, can we talk about what's a reasonable compensation for the work that I'm doing, even though, I mean, I'm trying to think of, I mean, so I'm on the other side because I have a small video game studio here in Philly, and we've hired 2 interns for contract work. And just like you said, Denise, my nameless partner was like, we're going to have to pay him $10 an hour. We have to pay him above minimum wage. 10 is a nice one. They're students. And we said, yep. But they didn't come. The only reason we did that was because we are like, look, we have to pay these people.
Look, I'm saying a paid intern is fine so long as it's
what I'm saying is the interns didn't come. Right. What I'm saying is the interns didn't even come to us. They were like, I just want to work on the project. And I'm like, no, your thing should
it's not good. Yeah, no, it's not good. This is where
right. So what I'm saying is all the young composers coming up have to be able to learn to have that healthy discussion, just saying what's a reasonable compensation. And I was lucky that by the time I'd gone back to NYU, I had worked in corporate America for 4 years. So when I interned, I was able to have that discussion like negotiating a project, and I was able to say, look, I know you don't have a lot of money, but at the same time, I need to work.
Yeah. Well, this is, I mean, really, there was some discussion of this lately on the Facebook group, which is called For Film Composers Only. And the Facebook group, it was talking about how, I lost my train of thought. The masked intern is infiltrating my brain.
all these squares.
I've got a string
I lost it. No, what I was going to say was that I'm not really interested. We can't really be, we can't successfully try to change things out on the top because we don't know a lot. There's a lot of stuff that we don't know. Like I said from the very beginning, people will say that they'll cry poor when they're making tons of money. You just don't know what's there. But what I do know is that if you are starting from the bottom, you can hold your head high, you can be proud of who you are and what you want out of your life, and you can ask for certain things. And I think it's really, really important to understand that just because you don't have the experience doesn't mean that you can't be really successful really fast. This is one of those strange worlds out there. It's not like the military or school where, at first you're a private and then you're a corporal and then you're a sergeant. What's after a sergeant? I don't even know. But, you work your way up, until you're a general. It's not like that at all. It's like one of those board games where you get a card and it tells you, woo, you just became a zillionaire, and,
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Right.
Not a step-by-step thing. And here's the other thing. If you were in a step-by-step world, it gives you a false sense of security. So that while you're making those steps, you're like, oh, yes, I'm doing this, and now I'm going to do... And it can be so disappointing if you have that expectation and you're in film music. It's not like that at all. You could be doing that, and then you're there, and you're stuck, and you have to jump ship because the ship isn't going anywhere.
Right. I know of for pitiful compensation to score their projects.
He's reading something. It's
I have the YouTube.
The comments.
Oh, that's not your job, Mike.
I got it, Mike. Don't worry about it.
Oh, that's fine. I was just curious. I'm just like, I'll turn it off. I trust Steve. He knows what's going on.
Okay.
But,
well, this is his 7th webinar. Are you kidding me? He props me up so bad I'd be like a puddle right now.
If I can follow up with one thought of this, and this is a lesson that I actually learned from you, Denise, which is, like, this talks about, we kind of have mentioned the idea of, like, as an intern, you still have we should all develop the ability and the confidence to be able to have discussions about compensation and value in terms of, like, I bring value even if I'm inexperienced. But a thing that Denise taught me from my lessons with her, which is really important, is that initial conversation can be a cue-in. Like, if you have a conversation, you haven't even done work one for this individual, and the individual starts giving the whole, well, you should be grateful to come work with me, and I'm giving you all this value, and you're like, wow, when there's nothing in the table, he's already a jerk.
Oh, right. So you're working for free. You're willing to work for free, and they make it look like they're doing you the favor. That is an enormous skill that I'm convinced they're taught somewhere along the line, and I wouldn't even suggest that film composers do that because we're better than everybody else. Okay.
We have a couple questions. Do you want to go into that a little bit?
Let me just read my notes. Converse amongst yourselves.
Of course. Got a topic of discussion. Well, I really, it's been an interesting experience. I mean, from what I found for timing of an internship, at least, I'm not sure if we've discussed that yet or not. But I kind of had two phases of like internships. Like I did like some while I was in school, like an upperclassman in school over the summer. Usually I did like an internship per summer. And they were all kinds. I mean, they were at music studios, they were at TV stations. I just wanted to learn about how like music and media worked on all ends. And with that, I just got a lot of. I mean, I got a lot out of some. I got not so much out of others. But like I said before, it's what you make of it. So some you can really get a lot out of, and a lot of it's also just personalities clicking and people getting along the right way, and things of that sort. But It's interesting because I was like 19 when I was doing this, and at that point I was like, oh my god, I'm interning. This is so cool. I'm doing this. And then I did a couple of internships a couple years later when I was around 24, 25, and then I was kind of like, I'd rather be like doing, like it didn't feel good at that point. It wasn't the same kind of thing. It was more like I wasn't interning to do the internship. I was interning to try to find work. Which
human nature. I don't know if this on the heels of what you're saying, but there's something to be said of human nature, okay? If I felt morally okay, I'm using this loaded word, moral, but, if I felt morally okay about hiring an intern, I could easily have 3 working full-time all the time. I could get them to do 100 things, but, it doesn't feel right to me, because how much would they really learn if I asked them to go get my dry cleaning? And that's what's happening with people. They want to be, and they're thrilled to be part of the studio and all that. But I feel like in that situation, someone who wants to break into the business is feeling like a wannabe. You wind up feeling more like a wannabe than an established person who's able to step up to the plate and deliver music for hire. So that's what I think. I'm going to slowly, it looks like I'm almost done saying whatever I got to say, and then we can open up the floor. What I want to finally say in the end is that 2 things. You learn nothing from, hearing horror stories. I've heard them. We have all heard them. Try not to be tempted by them. They don't really make you feel good at the end of the day. Just look ahead. See where you can go. We will have the next 2 webinars will hopefully talk a little bit about that and help you on your way so that you can find work. You can try to figure out how you can make somebody pay you even a little bit for the composing work that you would do. If there's something that you feel that's wrong, say something, and don't say it anonymously. And if you don't feel like you can, if you don't feel that you can say these things anonymously, then don't say them at all. I don't know. I was exploring these apps this morning because they have these apps now called Whisper, and I thought, oh, wouldn't that be something? Or maybe there could be some kind of weird secret registry as to, like, don't work with so-and-so. And I think that that is really negative, and even though it might feel like it's constructive and helpful for other people, I believe that it prevents you from looking forward, and that is a discipline, and you can benefit a great deal from it. If you are stuck in an internship, please, my heart goes out to you. Please try to extract yourself out as best as you can. You're welcome to reach out to me. I won't charge you. I'll just send you lots and lots of love. I understand how difficult it is because you can't really divulge who you are, where you are, who you're working for. But maybe we can get. Yeah.
Not all internships are bad, though, too. Keep that in mind. And if you're at a certain point in your career, it can be a very great, helpful thing of just getting perspective. As in, like, you're not totally sure even if you want to be doing this or not. It's a great way to just see, oh, that's what it's like to do this. Okay.
This is what I want to say.
Yeah.
Honestly, Steve, this
At
is
a certain point, I mean,
this is a great point you're making. But you see, you're talking to somebody. I never had an internship. I mean, my first gig was orchestrating for Elliot Goldenthal, and it's not because I knew how to orchestrate. Believe me, it's because I knew him really, really, really well. You know, I mean, and I knew the guy who was working alongside him, and we were very close friends. And you know, I learned later on the fly. The point that I'm making is that it really is who you know. If you spend night and day trying to meet as many people as you can, it's not even like you will be a little bit ahead. You will be up on the stratosphere. I mean, I had no idea what I was doing. I mean, this is what I'm trying to say. The good people who are up on the stratosphere, who are in Oscarland, they would never even think of not charging you like a regular professional. And that's what Elliot did for me. And he's a good person, and I'm not supposed to name names, but there, I did it. But
that's your one. You're allowed one. I was allowed one name. I want to agree with both Steve and Denise. I think you guys nailed it. And it's funny, I'm casting my mind back to my students from U of Arts that I've sent over there. And what's funny is none of them have landed an internship. They've all landed assistantships. And so they went in with a different mindset. They weren't like, no, we're not here to learn anymore. Yes, we're here to be a low cog on the wheel. I mean, one of the guys was doing mock-up cleanups. You know, you got to orient all the quantized data and all that. But he was an assistant.
Yeah, and that's also in a structure that's very regimented, though, Michael. This is the thing. Film music is not like that at all. You know, every single film composer out there who has succeeded because they have gotten lucky. What lucky means is that they, you know, they were here and they wound up over there, and they knew what to do about it, and they expected it. And so that's a different mindset than, you know, okay, assistantship. I don't believe you can get, you know how Hollywood is. They pigeonhole you. If you go in there as an orchestrator, you're an orchestrator forevermore. If you go in as a TV composer, you're a TV composer, full stop. If you're an assistant, if you're a recording engineer, if you're, you know, that's what you are. That's what they know you as.
Right. And I agree with that. My point was more of like that these students are valuing themselves from the get-go. They're not allowing themselves to get walked over with their first gig. They're like, no, you got to pay me. You've got to hire me. And you know, and that's what I was getting. I agree that if you can.
So what is it about those people that allow them to have pride as opposed to? Why do you think that is that film composers who show up in Hollywood,
those two guys that got gigs were really friendly and social, and they knew how to network, and they could have great conversations with these film composers.
Yeah,
that's what it is. This one guy, and he's working for a major Hollywood composer. He's a year out of school. When I say major, I'm talking like multi-million-dollar blockbusters. And yeah, and to be fair, Denise, he did have the chops when he needed it. He needed to be able to transcribe by ear and all that. But the most important thing was that he was friendly, he was sociable, he was enthusiastic, and he, you know.
It's not based on your skill. It really isn't. When they let you in, it's based on. And you had mentioned this earlier. Are you trustworthy? Yeah. And that's something that I talk about. You know, as you know in the previous webinars. Are you trustworthy? And, you know, and the thing is that there's something to be said about how trustworthy you appear to be when you allow other people to walk all over you. You have to be able to be dependable to yourself. You come you have to speak up, and people will also test you to see. I had a friend of mine who was telling me that he got a job interview next to a waterfall, and he had a silk suit. And this crazy person who was doing this job interview was actually testing him to see if he would say, you know, I have to get up and go there. You know, so, you know, you have to be able to defend yourself. And you have to be able to step up to the plate and say, no, I know, Steve, you've had those experiences, and we all have had those experiences. If something hurts you really bad,
you don't have to take it.
And tell all your friends in a discreet way, but don't complain too much. Don't get into can you?
Yeah, that is another thing actually. I was going to say.
You you're responsible. You're responsible. You're not stuck there. You might feel like you don't have any options, but you have lots and lots of options.
What I want to say also
Watch
is,
the webinar is go to the Facebook group. I'm here for you. And there are others too. It's not just me. Anyway, go on, Steve. I'll be
what I
quiet.
was going to say is consult with trusted friends on these as well. Tell them about what you're doing. I mean, just when you're catching up and talking with your friends anytime, talk with them. Because I've had some internships where I'm doing it, and I'm kind of like, yeah, you know, it's really cool. And then they ask, like, yeah, but did you actually get to go to the session, or did you just set up the session?
Yes.
Like everyone has those friends like that who are very inquisitive and very, like, you know, picking at it and, like,
well, look, I have people who I consult with whenever I find myself into trouble, you know, in trouble.
There are people who you trust like that, definitely.
And actually, one of the people who I consult is Steve right there.
And Deniz is also one of my main consultants as well.
No, you're right, Steve. Just having a fresh ear just to bounce that disinterested, interested support. You know what I mean? It's like, I just want you, it's like Denise, it's like that. It's like, I just want you to do better, but I'm not interested in coddling you if you're hurting yourself. I just, you know.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Mr.
Ask the right questions, you know?
Mr. Masked Intern, what do you have to say? We're going to open up the floor for questions, but do you have anything to say before we go into the question and answer section?
Sure. What was the thought I was having? We were talking about why people that have lots of resources aren't necessarily inclined to share them.
Yes.
I think some people in LA are, well, a lot, I should say, are a bit delusioned. And that,
really? You really think so?
No. They have this very overinflated sense of self, and that kind of
I see.
incorporate it into their practice. So you're like, oh, you're here to be around me, to see what I'm doing, and that is worth its weight in gold.
Oh, that's kind of creepy. Thanks, Masked Intern. I feel really creepy.
It's not necessarily a creepy thing. It's just kind of an ego thing.
No, I totally get it, though. I totally get it. But, you know, let's turn this on its head and say, you know, somebody who does that is proud of who they are, even though they might be slightly delusional, and that's something to be said for all of us when we conduct ourselves in our line of work, that we need to be proud, we need to feel like people should be grateful to be around them.
But it's probably an excuse to for people over.
All right, Mr. Steve.
Okay, we have questions? We have questions.
Questions. Do we have questions?
We do have questions. Our first one is from Vlad, and what he is asking is, how do you turn an unpaid internship into a paid internship?
I don't know.
How do you bring it up? How do you bring up that conversation?
I don't know if you can. You know, it reminds me of the old days when I used to teach music appreciation to really unruly children, and you know, and basically the principal had said, you know, don't let anything up early on, otherwise you'll never rein them in. And I don't think you can. That's a good question, but
I actually have done this before. I have gone from an unpaid intern to a paid intern. They didn't call it a paid intern, but it's what it was.
Yes.
So basically, what happened was I interned at this place for a while. This is a while ago. I interned at this place, and then I left. And I made sure at that point, I remember my dad giving me this advice. He just said, find a way to make yourself as invaluable to them as possible, so when you're gone, they'll wonder how they got things done, and they'll have no clue. So I did my unpaid internship, ran its course. They asked me to stay longer for no pay, and I said no, thank you. I have other projects I need to tend to. And then within 2 weeks, I get a phone call from the head honcho of this place that I was at. This was like, I was still living in Philadelphia at this point, even, I think. I can really remember, it was so long ago, but this head honcho calls me and just says, "Hey, listen, everyone at this studio place loves you. We want to have you back. We want to." And I said, "Okay, what are your rates?" And then he said, "Let me have 10 people call you, and we'll get something going." And I said, "Sure." So I get a phone call about that. A couple days later, they said, "Hey, yeah, let's totally talk about it. Great, cool." I'm like, "All right, cool. I'm on cloud 9 right now." And then I get the rate, and it's incredibly low. I got paid more to make cheeseburgers when I was 16. So I was kind of like, guys, I can't do that.
Are you serious? The rate was really low.
It was very low. It was like below minimum wage. I was like, guys, that's insane. I'm sorry, I can't do that. And then we talked a little more, and they said, okay, fine. How about you do it for a month, and then we'll raise it? I said, okay, if you absolutely agree to doing this, sure, why not? So we do that. They don't raise it. I leave. But
they didn't raise it.
They didn't raise it. They promised, and they didn't fulfill their promise.
Yeah.
Nothing at all about that. I was told I would be doing a lot of other things, and then it turned into just the same stuff I was doing as an intern, just being paid a little bit of money. But it does happen, though. It does happen.
I think when you have an experience like that, though, it does bolster you because you feel like, okay, I paid my dues. Now I'm, next time around. But you shouldn't have to deal with it at all. Spend all your time networking, meeting as many people as possible, having fun, hanging out with directors, getting to know them, talk to them, be friends with them, mix with them. When you do these things, you're doing far more than you could possibly do doing anything else, honestly.
I agree. I so agree. One thing that Steve did that was really good, though, which is to Vlad's point, I think would help, if you're in a position where you are doing an internship or an assistantship, time box that. Like Steve was like, I'm going to work till this date and I'm going to move on, because then you have an exit and you're not in this loop of I'm just sitting here hoping they notice me, hoping they promote me. And like Steve said, your most valuable thing to promote and develop is yourself, not your internship. So
exactly.
Time box that so you can, we agreed to 90 days, I got to move on. And if we want you back, And of course the other thing is, what Steve said, develop skills that make you indispensable, because those skills transfer outside of an internship. You become a really good MIDI mock-up guy and works light. You pick up contracting MIDI mock-up work.
You got to be careful about that. I agree with you, but you also have to be careful, because that mindset of, oh, let me make myself indispensable, if you're not careful, is going to keep you thinking like a follower. I mean, you're still...
Right.
Which I did for a little while. That was a mistake. I did do that for a little while.
Yeah. I mean, the whole idea is for you to be a leader on your own behalf. That's really what we... So anyway, you have other questions? Can we move on? Maybe
Last question a little bit, hopefully.
Let's do it.
Questions.
Yeah.
Yes, give me 1 second. What's up?
I think it's Star Wars dance music. Everybody over the age of like 25 knows that tune. It's awesome.
Yeah.
Hey, I'm 24.
Absolutely.
So,
We got
The Masked Intern is. I was 4 years old and I saw that in the theater in 1977. That's how old I am. I remember seeing the.
That would have been cool.
I wish
Oh my
I could have seen
God!
that.
I was way older than that.
But you love.
Can we get the next question, please? What were you saying about the intern?
All right, next question. Here we go.
I can
All right.
geek out.
Our next question is from I hope I'm pronouncing this right. Kolja, I think. Kolja, Belgium. What they're asking is, if you're working unpaid for a really big name and it gets you a lot of contacts plus high-level projects experience in return, is that still worth doing or not? Did you get that?
It is still worth. Yes, I did. It is still worth doing. It is worth doing. However, chances are, because this is like an equation within humanity, if they are not paying you, or if they're not paying you a decent even salary, they're going to abuse you. They're looking for somebody who they can use, who they can dispose of. So yes, it's a wonderful idea, but please watch out. It's like we have a phrase in English where we say, we're waiting for the other shoe to drop. So when you start in, don't think that you're being welcomed into this family. When you're dealing with somebody who's a really big name, has lots of money, and they may welcome you, wait for that other shoe to drop, because they should be paying you. I'm not saying, when I'm saying should, I'm not, how do I put this? I'm just saying beware. Any normal person would pay you. They would.
Yeah.
If they can afford it, why not? I mean, if you don't have money, then it's hard to see it, but it's sort of like, imagine with the money that you have, that it's a matter of you giving someone 50 cents a day.
Yep.
And why wouldn't you give that person 50 cents a day? I mean, because that's what $320 a week is to these people.
Exactly.
Yeah. I mean, it's sad, but someone's got. This is the thing. Someone's got to say it. It's.
Our next question is from Ahmed Haroon, which he's a cool guy. We're friends on Facebook. He's a cool dude. What he's asking is as far as negotiating, huh?
Ooh, was it? What was the name?
Ahmed Haroon.
Okay.
Ahmed. Am I pronouncing that wrong?
No,
What
you're
did oh no, this guy in the chat. He's asking a question.
I just didn't hear you because the connection
But
was
I
up.
Oh, okay. I was like, did I say something wrong? All right. What he is asking is, as far as negotiating film projects with film composers or studios, at what point in your film composing careers did you guys actually know you were ready to start charging or negotiating payments?
From the very beginning. I mean, really, from the very beginning, because you're offering a service. Whether they're going to listen to you or not it depends on the person who you're talking to. But from the very beginning, you should be paid from the very beginning. That's what I think. People disagree with me, and you can disagree with me. It's fine. But I really believe that, just like you would want to practice trying your hand at writing music to picture, or some people were talking about recently on the Facebook group that they wanted the IMDb credit. A rite of passage for a composer is to try to extract some kind of monetary compensation for the work that they're doing. Yeah. And that is a very real part of being a composer, and you can be sloppy about it. You are far better off being sloppy trying to do that than being an intern, because one is trying your best at being a leader on behalf of yourself, and the other one is just being a follower. So,
yes.
Yeah, so long as you're getting something tangible. I did a trailer not too long ago, and the guy did photos. And exchange.
You bartered.
We bartered, which is like the oldest way to exchange services.
But you just have to be very careful, because usually composers who are willing to barter, to say, okay, I'll do this for that, aren't really good at making sure that they get a good deal out of it.
I mean, I was clear with the guy. It's like, I'm going to do it this time. Next time, I'll get paid.
Or even to spell it out, like, okay, for this music, I would normally get $2,000. Yeah. So what are you going to do for me that is worth that? And
that's always what I tell people.
Right, you just have to break it down monetarily, otherwise, because like I said, composers are the nicest people in the whole world, and people are stomping on them, and it's got to stop.
Well, a lot of people don't realize how long it takes. Like, say it's this really intricate action cue that's only a minute long.
Yeah.
It could be a week of work.
that's where the it's what I call sales, education, and sales. So, and this is the weirdest thing in the whole world about film composing. Ask me, where you're in a position to educate the person who is hiring you. Yeah. So you're saying, no, you can't do that because this is taking me a long time to do. Or no, that's not how it's done. Let me show you how it's done. Let me explain how it's done. I've heard a lot of film composers inviting the director over to their studio to show them, look, this is what it's all about. So, you're asking for this. So it's a weird situation. And if you're a super nice person who's not used to being a leader for yourself, then you're going to be in trouble.
I'm always really comfortable doing that with people that are my friends and that I've gotten to know. I'm fortunate to have a handful of directors and producers that I'm really close with. So when they come to me with their content, we can, honestly, even be borderline rude to each other, knowing that we're friends.
That's exactly what. That's it. That's the perfect. That is it. You should be able to be rude to each other and laugh,
and laugh it off at the end of the night. Like, that was fun. But,
yeah, exactly. That's a true creative collaboration, and those people will not dump you. If you feel comfortable enough to insult each other to your faces, they will not dump you. Isn't that ironic? But it's true.
Yeah, it is exactly true.
I remember that reminds me of another thing. I saw a picture online one time. It was comparing new friends to really close friends, calling each other on the phone to hang out, and new friends are kind of like, hey Dan, we're going to this restaurant tonight. Do you want to come with us? And then like the really close friend's like, hey jerk, we're gonna be here. You're not invited. Bye. Like it's just how it is, you know. But it's like when I'm thinking like, yeah, my good friends, I totally do. I'm like, you know, like meaner to my good friends, where I'm like, hey, we're all gonna go here, and we don't want you to be there. Okay, bye. By the way, we all hate you. Like it's like totally kidding and joking, you know. But and like, you know, then they're like, we're all cracking up. Like it's always how it is.
That is it. That's what I'm talking
Let's give
about.
each other a hard time, like Greg and I each other giving each other a hard time. I mean,
All right, so have we
obviously,
got
there's no mean spirit behind that statement at all.
So, Steve, pay attention. We got any more?
All right. Focus, yeah.
Yeah, more questions. More questions.
This is from, oh man, I think this is a username, Warguk, WOURGHK, work, I'm gonna say work. What they're asking is, why is age discrimination so prevalent in studio hires and internships? For example, like a 20-year-old inexperienced prospect is commonly more welcome than an inexperienced 40-year-old prospect.
Because they know the 40-year-old is smart enough and mature enough to walk as soon as they get.
Right.
Yep.
That's it. But you know what? But speaking of being ageist, I found that that's starting to not be such a big issue in Los Angeles, which is absolutely wonderful. You know, 20 years ago, I'd say if you were 35, you were too old, and now there's none of that. And I don't know what's happened. Maybe it's the internet and the big, great leveling playing field or something like that. But that's not an issue. But yeah. It's because they know that someone who's mature, who's experienced all of that, will just say, you know what, that's just not good.
I wonder if it's because Hollywood budgets are getting bigger, and so they want to have a trusted, experienced person. You know?
No, the opposite. They want to hire a 20-year-old, not a 40-year-old for an intern.
Somebody that
Not for big Hollywood blockbusters. Those are still always going to the because there's too much money on the line.
Well, no, this is an internship. You know,
sorry. Sorry, that was me. I got
Hollywood blockbuster, absolutely. You know, they people who are what they're looking for is not what you've done. This is very important. I've said this in the past. I'll say it again. What people are looking for is not what you've done. They're looking for what you can do for them now. And so your website and your persona and everything about you has to reflect that. It's what you can bring to the table right now.
Yeah.
And that's so don't worry if you don't have any experience.
It's true. If I can say one of my happy stories to support what Denise is saying, my first feature, actually, this is my only feature because I went into video games after that, was I'd only done a short MTV pilot, a 3-minute animated pilot, and so I have no credits, but the guy who was scoring the feature didn't have a lot of confidence. He and I went to NYU together, and when the director came, this person said, I really want to bring my friend in on this. Yes. And I went and met with the director, and the director was like, okay, great, how are you guys going to break this project up? And I'm like, we're going to do it this, this, and this, and that was it. And it was 10 grand for me and 10 grand for my partner, but I only had one credit, but the director didn't care. What he cared was that I had a third-party guy vouch for me, that when we met, he trusted
that helps, sure.
Yeah, so to your point, I got a feature credit with some pretty big names, having never done any film scoring outside of NYU. So like you said, Denise, it doesn't always mean you don't doesn't mean what credits you have.
Absolutely not. It doesn't. It just make friends. Make all your friends. Like that's everything. Yes. Do we have more questions? Let's get more questions in before we.
And friends thing. Most gigs that I've gotten, secondary connections is what I call it. So it's like a friend of a friend said, "Hey, I have this guy Steve. I heard you're looking for music or something or sound or whatever. He can probably help you with stuff." And then I get an email saying, "Hey, your friend Becca recommended you from high school. Who I saw a friend of mine a couple of weeks ago. Like she was just in town. I've been talking to her since high school. I was like, sure." And then she said, "Hey, my friend's trying to do a video game. Can you help him?" I was like, "Okay, sure, why not? Yeah, connect us." And then boom, you know. So making friends is very important with anybody in your life because this person I got this gig through was a graphic designer in Pittsburgh.
You see how just listening to Steve talk about how it's a whirlwind and isn't it wild and isn't it wonderful and it literally sounds like things are blooming for you, and this is.
I'm not trying to brag at all. I'm sorry if that came off as that. I'm not trying to.
No. What I'm trying to say is that the shape and the feel of what you're describing is so different than, okay, I've got this intern and I got to show up for work every morning and I got to things around. It's a very different feel. And one is the truth, and the other one is not the truth.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly.
Do we have any more questions, or are people just completely stunned into silence there on the comment?
Something else to think about. I'm going back to I'm finally looping back on the internship. I was off in Hollywood land for a while, but you know, a lot of times interns will want to take a job, and I know I did because they want to see the behind the scenes, and there is value to being in a scoring set. But here's something funny: if you go and you network with other directors and other composers, you can often just end up and say something like, hey, you know what, the next time you're in a recording session, is it all right if I hop over and watch for an hour? I would just love to see you at work. And they'll be like, yeah, sure, come on. And you get all that knowledge and all that experience under a no-pressure gauntlet. You're like, you know, like, it's like not like, oh, I have to go in and make sure the coffee's there and make sure that all the edit markers are all set. You're going in and being like, wow, I'm watching my friend work. So
I mean, it does get old after a couple of weeks. It does, you know?
Oh yeah, well, any job when you're it
really then you start wasting time. You know, that's where you have to have. Yes, I agree. I mean, it's important to see certainly sessions and see how it's done, but
there's alternate ways to do it that don't necessarily involve being an intern. You know, and that's kind of like being a little creative means, you know, because I think a lot of what we're talking about is you don't necessarily have to go into an internship. There are other ways to build your career.
I really have to say something else here. You know, the skill to be able to learn something on the fly, just by observing how other people are doing it, without losing your sense of cool, just because you don't happen to know something, is a huge skill, and it's really, really important to know. You know, to never lose your sense of honor just because you don't know something. I mean, you need to have confidence in your intelligence and your own ability to do things, so that if you don't happen to know things, it's like, well, you know, I'll learn it soon enough. And people around you are patient if they throw you into that kind of a situation. So, you know, the idea that, oh, I got to really see how it goes, and it could be helpful, absolutely, but it's not a deal breaker. You don't, you know, you're supposed to know this stuff on the fly. A lot of these people who are very successful, who really made it to the top, that's how they started. They started on the fly. You know, it'd be interesting actually to find out how many of these really super successful composers started doing the internship and then another one and then and worked their way up. And I bet you none of them have.
I know a lot of folks, a lot of composers who, when they got their first gig, it was usually like, hey, you're a music guy or something, right? Can you like write music for this thing? Like, I mean, like so many of those have been so haphazard like that. I mean, like, and usually half the time it's like, dude, I'm like a lead singer in a rock band. Like, I'm not a composer. What are you talking about?
Yeah.
You know, like,
music dude.
yeah, it's like, yeah, you're the music guy. You do music stuff, and they assume you play every instrument. They assume like all this stuff about you, and you're like, I can't do that, but okay, I'll try. Like, go ahead and think that about me.
Some of the biggest names now got their start just like that.
Yeah.
Absolutely true.
I mean, the wildest story I ever heard was this music editor who said the first gig that he got, this director said, yeah, we love you, we'll have you on board. You know what a music editor does, don't you? And he's like, yeah, sure, no problem. And on the way home, back then this was before the internet, you know, on the way home he stops at a Barnes & Noble and picks up a book on what a music editor does. Yep. And this is like a serious Hollywood feature. And the thing that I'm trying to say is that this is how it works. You don't have to know everything. Once you have trust built between people, then you can be a little bit of a Dumbo or just, you know, not know everything, and they'll welcome you, they'll take you in. That's the kind of environment that you want, where you feel like you're truly being cared for and nurtured because they believe in you and they believe that you can be better and increase. A situation like an intern, it's almost like those people who are hiring you are invested in keeping you down. You know, that's your role. That's your little cubby hole. It's a bad scene.
Right. No, it's true. And something else going with that, you know, we're joking about how the people that we would develop relationships with for directors and potentially producers. And, you know, Steve, we're joking about how, oh, you're the music guy. It's so easy for us as composers to think what we do is not magic because we spent 15 years of our lives learning it. We're constantly studying. For these people, it is magic. When somebody comes in and you're like, oh, I know what needs to happen. You play this, you know, set of string chords, or you play this French horn melody, and they're like, whoa, how did you now it's all long. You know what I'm saying? Like, so don't devalue that. Like, that's again supporting what Denise is saying. Get in touch with these visual people because we become part of that magic equation. The stuff that like.
You also need to be around people who are openly astounded at what you do.
If
I
you
mean,
can make your director cry, you're probably doing something right.
Yeah. Exactly.
so do we have any more questions, Steve? Anything else?
Yeah, before we get to other tangent.
There's one that's it's not a question, but I think it's a comment that we could maybe discuss on a little bit. It'd be interesting. This is from Nathaniel Chonerud. I think I got your name right. I remember you told me a couple of how to Chonerud.
Rude.
Almost.
It's rude.
Chonerud. Okay. Teamwork.
Yeah.
So what he has to say is he feels like the comments are scrolling now. I feel like part of the issue is that if I'm not fairly compensated for the work, I wouldn't want to fully commit to the job or project. Thoughts on that, I guess. What do you guys think? I mean, like.
So what was the comment? I didn't quite understand it. I'm sorry.
Oh, sure. If I were not fairly compensated for the work, I wouldn't feel like I could fully commit to the job or the project.
It's a subconscious thing. When
Absolutely.
you're getting paid for your work, there's just kind of this hand behind you pushing you forward, whereas it's just not there when you're not getting paid. You know?
Absolutely.
Or at least getting something truly tangible.
So the Masked Intern, I am just curious. Are you interning now?
No.
No. He says no. They're like two syllables in that word. No.
No, I am not.
Yeah. So you're done. So how many did you do? You think?
4.
You did 4.
I
Wow.
did 4 internships for my first year in LA. Yeah.
Okay. Well, I'm glad that you're no longer doing them. It's quite enough, isn't it?
It was quite a lot. I learned a lot. I'm ultimately grateful that I did them because I learned a huge amount. But in the absence of a mentorship or something where there's an exchange of ideas and values and things like that, I'm not entirely sure I would want to be pursuing another one.
Yeah. I don't blame you one bit. Well, we're so grateful that you're here. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Unfortunately, we can't divulge who you are ever, but we will be so grateful forever for you to come out and share this stuff with us, really. Yeah.
Cheers.
Yeah.
So I think that might be it. Is it not? Or
we have.
Tell me more.
We got one more interesting.
Okay, go for it.
We got one more interesting one. I'm getting this name right. Oh crap! I gotta look it up. Hold on, wait. He just told me a minute ago. All right, this is from Kolja. I got it this time. Kolja, Belgium. And what he's saying is that he has another thing for a career right now. He's not a composer by career, but he loves film music passionately, and he wants to try to flip it at some point. I think is what he's trying to say. And what he's asking is, so in a situation like that, do you think it would make sense to try to assist somebody first, or try to kind of go like an internship level or assistantship level? Would it make sense to go that way first, as you're like kind of transitioning into flipping your career?
What's the transition from where to where?
Just a different industry. I'm not sure what exactly, but I think it's just it's a day job. It's a different.
No, because
keep your day job, I would say, so you can have money and resources to commit to your scores.
Yeah. I also think, the thing, you know what, you don't have to intern. You can just ask people if you can just be there, and because otherwise they're going to make you work.
Right. For free.
For free.
Yeah.
But if you know people and you can say, listen, I'd like to get a feel for what this world is about. Can I come and can I watch? And as long as you're discreet and you're totally quiet and you're you're respectful and you show up with pastries every morning, then they will, they'll accept you. And it doesn't take very long for you to get a sense of it. I mean, you could do that a couple of days and be done with it. It's an internship is a very demeaning situation, and if you're switching jobs, it might really feel psychologically like a very drastic thing where you're going from being able and capable to
like the very bottom.
From a place where you feel valued and like you're a part of something to kind of nod.
And I have some advice too though also with this. Cole, yeah, as I'm sure you're probably consulting with composer friends and things of that sort about how to do this. Also ask them like, hey, can I hang with you when you're doing some stuff? Can I hop along to your stuff as well? It's another way to do it as well. Is just ask other people, who, are doing it. Just say, hey, can I hang out with you while you're doing your work? Can I just, can you just tell me what you're doing in that kind of stuff? I'd also recommend doing that and just trying to keep, if you really do want to make the switch into this.
Yeah, it's always, can I see your studio? Can we see what this is about? Can I take a look? I mean, that's very different
Every
than
consultant friends. I mean,
for somebody making up for free,
Yeah.
and you will not feel like you're part of the family. I think that's another big issue. You will not feel like you're part of the family. You'll feel like you're on the outside. You'll be like the ugly stepsister.
Yeah. It's useful to do what we're talking about there. That's what made a couple of the internships I did at one of the bigger studios really, really great, because what they do is they have you sit in with whoever's working there for a predetermined amount of time. I think it's a couple of hours. You just get to check out what they're doing and ask them questions if they're up for it.
Well, that's great.
And whether it's like what to do with vocals, or like, oh, I'm using this EQ, this compression for this purpose, kind of thing. It was completely worth it for that. But that's the one reason why you might consider interning. If you have a period of 5 weeks where you can be free for a couple of days each, then it could potentially be worth it if you don't mind suffering a little bit.
Well, it's the suffering. That's my point. Is that I mean, let's face it. You can't write good music if you're not feeling too good about yourself and your
absolutely. Mood really takes a big toll on that, definitely.
Yeah, this isn't just being a plumber, is it? No, you got to do something creative that comes from your soul, your heart, the whole 9 yards. So
it's also worth mentioning too with the composing while also doing a straight job. Charles Ives was an insurance salesman, and he revolutionized contemporary music at the same time. So there are, you don't have to be like Mr. Full-Time Composer, Mrs. Full-Time Composer to make good music. I mean, there's a lot of folks who they work full-time in a totally unrelated field and they compose on the side. There's also great players. I know a lot of great players who are insanely talented musicians and they're lawyers. And they go home and they just shred on keyboards or anything. So
those people have an incredibly strong vision about who they are and what they're about and where everything goes. I mean, and that if you can get that going, then you could probably succeed in film music as it is. I mean, to be able to do that is really it's a wonderful, wonderful thing. If you have that kind of a strong vision and that kind of perseverance. Absolutely, it's a wonderful, wonderful thing. But getting there is few and far. In other words, you can have the full-time job and then do your art and feel not so good about either one. And the idea that you would feel good about both requires a great deal
of course.
In there, I think. Being somebody that's young and out of college and having very little resources available, I think it's actually kind of critical to be doing something sort of removed from your creativity so you can pour resources into the creative thing. I'm going to bartending school right now.
Wow! Yeah, well, you meet a lot of people that way, let me tell you. I mean, that's
good hours, too.
Yeah,
compose all day, bartend all night.
It's the bartending week is Friday through Sunday usually, or Thursday through Saturday. So and you can still make.
But you know what's going to happen to you is that as soon as you become a bartender, your career as a composer is going to go through the roof, and oh well.
That's all right. You'll know how to make good drinks at all those Hollywood parties you go to.
Exactly, yeah, that's very important. If you can make a good mojito, man, people will love you.
That's the big thing for me. It's I'm always facing constraints of whatever kind of and it's not going to go away as I go up the ladder. But I have kind of old software and things that are not quite up to par.
I got to, yeah. So you
I need to make money.
Yes, you do. Yeah.
So and that's why the bartending is necessitated, and the reason why it's interesting is like I can continue to pursue my longer term career goals.
It's a long game, yeah.
Like I said, once again, in your line of work, you will be able to meet loads and loads and loads of people, and that is incredibly important.
What I did before it was I drove for Lyft, actually, sharing service, and I met a lot of people. Actually, scored a short film that way.
You see?
Oh, no way! That's awesome.
Yeah, it was fun.
That's so cool. Just to add to that, I know we're talking a lot about this, but I actually feel very personally. This is very personal to me. Denise knows because I'm in this exact spot where I'm actually reinserting myself back into the film and TV world this year after 5 years of working here in Philadelphia because I have a family and a daughter and I needed to take other musical jobs. And I'm not moving as fast as I want to be moving, and that's one of the things I'm working on, but there is an immense sense of relief that I'm not having to take every single job that I can because my family's finances are being paid for it. Even though it's 30 hours worth of work a week that I'm doing, 5 years ago, I was writing porn music. I'll come around and say it. I was writing music for porn libraries because I needed it, and because I was broke in Philadelphia. I was so good with the '70s funk wah guitar. You're like,
oh my goodness.
Oh man, that's too funny.
You never knew that story? That's right, Mike Lawrence. Porn composer.
The new law.
But I think it's really important to have a strategy that you can attack projects with passion. And taking money out of the equation as soon as possible is really useful. The combination of what Denise is talking about and we're all talking about, which is charge value so that you can commit to the 10 hours a day of working and be like not worried about how am I going to make rent because you're getting paid enough. Combine it with having a job that is taking care of the bills and the job can roll lower as your film composing career rolls higher.
Eventually flip it, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's everything is very mutable. Everything is very.
And in this day and age, because all the playing fields are all being leveled out, I don't think we can all break the rules here. There's no such thing as you can't do it, and you can do both. You could do 3-4 different jobs all at once, if that's how you want to fly. The key, I think, is to make sure that the whole time you feel like you are in charge of your life and you are calling the shots and you're not following and you're not feeling like you're somehow, I don't know, less of a human being with fewer rights because you happen to not have the experience. There's no such thing. What really matters is what you can do for people in the here and now.
Like that impact. The thing you keep on coming back to that is really just resonating with me is just empowerment and deciding for yourself, deciding your career path for yourself, deciding what you will and won't tolerate, deciding how you're going to do it. I mean, I'll tell you, there's one advantage to having these two jobs. I got a lot of disposable income, so my studio's pretty well stocked, and
whatever works. So long as you feel like you're not crushing yourself, and an internship is a great way to crush
yourself. It
can only be a spirit killer, definitely.
All right. Are there any other questions?
We do. We have another question. This is from
Is it about porn?
It is not relating to porn, but although work says that porn is respectful, and they can respect that.
Pay good money, and they get a little ASCAP check, and that's cool, and
Yeah, I mean, like, hey.
Hey, it's a story I can tell my friends at parties, which is always fun.
Exactly. I think it's a good laugh, definitely.
Oh, it is.
Yeah. So this is another question from Nathaniel Tronerud. What he's asking is, what about internships from major companies which typically structure them as an educational program?
That's what I was talking about in the very beginning. So 20th Century Fox, for example, has this internship. I mean, that sounds like it's really good when you're talking about a big Hollywood production company. Yeah. It's probably the result of a competition or something like that. Yes, because they have to treat people well then. And it also has a finite, it's not like they're hiring you. I think it's really important if you really are going to be doing this internship, regardless of what it is, that you know when it's going to stop.
Yeah.
That it has
having clear terms like that are very important.
And so that when you go to, like I keep on saying, 20th Century Fox, I think that was a 3-week or a 4-week internship. That was boom, 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 So and it seemed to work great. This person was saying that it was just the best experience in the whole world, really.
Definitely, especially if there's promise of like bumping you up as you progress and that kind of stuff. Like when you can do this, we'll put you, you know, like if it's clearly stated, I say do it.
I agree, and especially those large companies. Like I know Blizzard does them in the video game industry. Because they go through schools. They're negotiating with the school, not with you. So they have to have. I know the video game companies have this boilerplate where it's like, we will not do this to the interns. We will do this. You will get 3 credits for your degree. We will not work you more than 6 hours a day.
You do understand how creepy getting credits for internship. You know how creepy that is. That means that the student is paying thousands of dollars to work.
I'm not saying it's ethical. I'm just saying it's well done.
And what kind of people are you working for then? I don't know.
Well,
I mean, at least
vary.
It wasn't. I mean, for my school, it was required. It wasn't a. It was part of the curriculum. Part of what I was paying for was to go out and find an internship. Yeah. It wasn't like like the school wasn't paying the studio to take me on. Like that's not what was happening.
What?
The school wasn't like paying the studio to take me on. That was not what was happening. It was, you know.
Yeah.
It's as if you were paying for a class.
You were paying the school to work for free.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Well, that's a whole other can of worms about academia. I mean,
and you're working for people who go for that, and I understand the whole 9 yards. I understand all that. There's a lot that's wrong.
Well, so I guess what's the consensus? Is doing these kind of academic internships at a large company with an established agreement a good idea?
Thank you for bringing that back up.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you for keeping us back on track.
Going
back in. Yes,
Yeah.
that's fine, but make it just a one-off. You know, don't have a whole string of them because it's not a good idea for you to be the janitor sloshing around the water.
Mm-hmm.
In a recording session, we want you to be the composer, and there's the only difference between one and the other is that one has a tight relationship with a director. I promise you, that's it.
And also, I have some advice to that. I agree if it's in writing, saying what they're intending to do with you.
Yes.
If it's as official as possible. If they're saying, "Oh yeah, get out of there," they're not serious. But if they actually give it to you in writing and they sign a contract with you or something like that, that's a different story entirely.
Right, written agreement.
Yeah, written agreement that's key.
Well, that ties in another thing.
Can I just say something? I mean, as a woman here, I have to say that this is a lot like the metaphor of a woman who wants to get married. So she dates a guy and he goes, "Oh yeah, we'll get married."
You got to say it with the ring. You got to.
You know, it's like whatever. Okay, you know. So yeah.
I think Steve's so, and this ties into another whole talk of just about like protecting yourself like legally and business wise. And at the bottom end is anytime you do anything, even as simple as an internship, even if it's get a written agreement, something.
In writing, yeah.
It's so
That's
huge.
a very good point.
Like, if anything, just to make sure you all are agreeing on the same exact thing. It's not even like for like whenever I ask the client to sign a contract, I'm not saying, you know, so I can sue you if you lie to me. It's more like, hey, just so we both know what we're agreeing to, let's just get this on paper and sign off on just saying, okay, it's all on the table, we know what we're actually agreeing on, and we're on the same page as far as what we want from each other.
Exactly.
All right, so the world out there, did you see just what Steve said and how he said it? He said it with a smile on his face, and there was a sense of humor in his voice. That's exactly how the serious stuff goes down. That was really, really good, Steve. I congratulate you.
I did this with a client yesterday.
Where it's like, yeah, man, let's just get this out of the way and just do this, and this is the way it's done, instead of going,
yeah, just get it done.
I don't want to help, I'm sorry, oh, this is so uncomfortable. No.
Rip that Band-Aid off.
What?
Yeah.
What?
Rip that Band-Aid off. Done.
Yeah. Steve's so right though. Like it's just so important to rethink contracts not as a defensive position to protect you, but as a spelled out agreement of the terms and duration of the conditions you're going to work, so that you have an operating agreement. You're like, oh, I get it. I'm going to do this.
Do it with fun. That's what I'm trying to say.
Exactly.
Not so much the content of it, but just to do it with fun, because we all have to face all these serious things. But just to make it so that I don't know, you don't feel like don't want to be uncomfortable. So much of it is just your stance.
Yeah.
Any other questions, Steve? Steve, any other questions?
Well, Kolya says, oh crap, did I screw that up? I think I got it right now. Kolya? It's Kolya, right? Yeah.
Oh, yeah, yes, it's Kolya.
Kolya. I'm like afraid now of screwing it up. Kolya says, thank you very much, and he got a lot out of the session. He's really happy that.
Good. You're welcome.
So it was well worth staying up staying up past midnight in Belgium to hear all this.
Oh, well, see, here's the thing. So we are going to, first of all, let me just apologize for those people who are not here live. If you're watching a recording, I thank you for being here, but I wanted to just mention to all of you out there who are watching, if you'd like to hang out with us beyond this, then please contact me, email me. It's on my contact page on my website, and give me your Gmail address is what I need, and we will get you in here. So even though we're going to go offline, we're still going to have a hangout here. So is that it, Steve? Yay! Is that it, Steve?
All the questions I got, yeah.
That's all the questions. Thank you so much. I can't thank all of you. Steve, thank you for keeping me together earlier with the meltdown.
No problem. Thank you for putting us on and doing this, and for having us all on.
And Michael, thank you so much. I mean, you have so much experience, and your articulation, the way that you spell things out is just really, really wonderful, and I really, really appreciate it. You make me look completely legit. Oh my goodness.
But I'm learning all this stuff from you, so we're like a feedback.
And the Masked Intern, we applaud you, all of us, all at once, for your bravery and for your wonderful spirit. Thank you so much.
You're very welcome.
Thank you. And yeah, visit the website. Go to the media page on my website. There you will see all of these webinars, and you will also see the link to for film composers only. It's a lot of fun. We have like more and more fun every day. Actually, today, you know, we reached
like 40 comments on.
we reached 777 members today.
Nice.
Woo!
Yeah.
Yeah, what is that?
Oh, that's right. 777 members. Notre Dame played football today. We had a great session. This was a good day. I got a new string library.
Hey, there you go. I got an air conditioner finally that's living here for a year.
Yeah.
God, that must be so nice.
And honestly, you were all in my life, and I feel so grateful about that. Thank you all. So please email us if you want to keep on hanging out. It's a lot of fun. It was a lot of fun last time, so please do that. And yes, here's to you doing the best that you can. Please write to me for any reason. No question. It is too dumb. Bye. Bye.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.